Garrett's so quick, he's already down to the chine. But don't worry, folks, we've still got a whole other side left to caulk to show you how he did it. Here, working on the caulking outside. So the port side here is still open. And then he's working on the starboard side, so he's got, can't see anything. So all the seams are filled on the starboard side. And he's working on the chine now. And the bottom planking doesn't receive caulking. So he's just got the chine and then the rabbet left to do.
Basically just caulking the rabbet and the chine really lightly because they're backed up by so much material, so much tar. There's no need to really pound
Overpack it
in there.
So close.
Yeah.
Garrett's finished cotton filling all of our seams on the starboard side. And today we're going to be painting, priming all the seams.
What? Don't judge me. Alright, hop up here. So you basically just want to work it into the seam. Don't worry about being neat,
Okay.
but you want to get it into the seam and onto the cotton.
And on the chine and the rabbet also?
Mm-hmm.
Same thing?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Indeed.
It's gonna mess up my perfect water line though.
Yep. That's why we kept it in.
Okay. What have you been doing the last couple days?
I got all the seams, except for the chine, caulked up to at least here. Just from here down is just to here. The rest is done all the way up to those little tails.
Nice.
So I think like 2 more days should be able to get the rest of the boat caulked up. Yeah.
Did you clear out some of the seams or something here?
Yeah.
Just made them neater?
I used the twig thing to widen the seams because they were a little too thin to get the cotton in there. All the bottom seams so on a cross plank boat, the bottom planking doesn't get any cotton in the seams. You just put putty in there. So when we fit the planks, we open them up a little bit for the caulking seam, because usually the way it works with cross plank boats is you don't caulk them when you launch them, and you don't caulk them until the boat becomes old and it starts to work, and then you might get some leaks and stuff in the bottom, and then you lightly caulk the bottom. But we put this, open them up a little bit too, so we could just get some putty in them, and that'll help stem the flow of water when we launch the boat. It's a couple different things. One is that everything under the water is in a really stable environment. It always stays tight and swollen, whereas up in the top sides it moves a lot depending on, you know,
Yeah.
everything. So these are stable, but also since they're short straight runs, it's really easy to get tight fits
Yeah.
on the seams, so it's just like a barrel. The seams are, the planks are fit well enough to just swell tight like a barrel and not need the cotton.
Do we have a couple not filled bungs there?
Yeah, that's where
Oh no.
that's where our stand was.
Ah.
You can just put
Yeah. Tar.
yeah.
Okay. Dang. Just a couple of 4 there.
Garrett began by cleaning and widening each seam. Some would be a little gunked up with tar, or be a little too thin to get adequate cotton in. The tool he used? Well, it would have been a reefing iron, but since we don't have one, Garrett created its equal by grinding down an old screwdriver and called it Twig Thing.
I'm gonna caulk these last seams, and the way I do it, which is by no means an original idea, kind of got the idea from watching Tips from a Shipwright, which if you haven't watched, you should watch because it's really cool. Yeah, he hung a 5-gallon bucket, but I just use a bag because it
That's what you
seems
have.
a bit easier to me. So I just unwind the cotton into the bag, just fill the bag up. Or
Because you
just-
pretty much want continuous runs of cotton, right?
Yeah, it doesn't really matter. I like to do it continuously because then I don't have to worry about twisting another piece in, but it's not a big deal. A lot of times these will just like kind of break off at random places, which is fine.
Would you say that this sort of stage, caulking the boat, hammering the cotton into the seams, was part of the original dream?
Yeah, definitely.
Something you envisioned when you're like, I think I want to build a boat?
Definitely. Used to fantasize about caulking the seams of a boat that I built. And now it's almost done.
Yeah.
Yeah, the bag's full, so you just break it off.
This man is so stubborn. He's moving slow because he has a couple broken ribs. He got that weird cough sickness that's been going around. He's been coughing for 3 months, and his ribs finally gave up. But nothing is going to stop this guy from progress.
Where I'm joining sold cotton with a new piece. Basically just kind of like pull some off that one, pull some off this one. Kind of like put them together, twist them into each other, and it pretty much just becomes one piece. So I personally like feeding it in like this. I think it gives you a lot of control how much cotton you get in the seams, and because the seams can kind of be wider or more narrow as they go along, and I think this just lets you go pretty fast, but also lets you control exactly how much you loop in. Like if your seam's getting a little bit wider, and you just kind of reach down and grab a little bit more when you tuck, or if it's getting narrow, you just don't grab as much when you tuck. And
Oh, okay. Because you don't want to overfill it, right?
Yeah,
So you're sort of gauging
yeah,
what space you have.
putting too much in is worse than not putting enough in, because I mean, maybe not so much with this boat because it's so heavily built, but with most boats, you know, if you don't quite put enough in, you know, you might have a seam that leaks, but if you put too much in, you bash it in there, when everything swells up, you can break fasteners and you can break frames, and because it's a ton of force. And this,
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
yeah, all of our planking up here is really tight vertical grain planking, so this won't move too much.
Oh, okay.
Just because of what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Everything on the bottom and everything below the water line will have a tendency to move a little bit more, because below the water line I switched to flat sawn, and everything below the water line is flat sawn. One, because it's cheaper. Two, it works fine because everything below the water line is going to always be submerged, so it's going to be very stable, so it'll swell up and it'll stay nice and tight. You know, she might open up a little bit if you do longer haul outs, but that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But another thing about flat sawn versus quarter sawn, and another, not a big reason, but you know, kind of a convenient thing for having it below the water line, is flat sawn is tougher than quarter sawn. It's just, you get it'll handle abrasion and stuff better. The quarter sawn is super stable, but it's just it's not quite as tough as flat sawn, which is another good reason to have it below the water line, I think.
Yeah. It's definitely where you're gonna hit something.
Say if you're sitting in a slip or at a dock for a really long time, and
Yeah.
you know, there's some swells and, you know, say some debris or something washed up against your boat and it's just sitting there for a long time, just kind of sawing on it. I think the flat sawn will take that better than quarter sawn will.
Yeah.
Everybody in the boatyard knows when I'm caulking.
Yeah. So after you loop it, the next stage is to kind of wedge or hammer it in.
Yeah, you switch. So I switched irons.
Oh, okay. So what do they look like?
I use this smaller iron to kind of loop it and get it in place, and then I switch to this slightly bigger iron, and that's what I kind of drive it in with. And you just want to drive it so it's like, you know, halfway the plank depth.
Uh-huh.
Kind of, if you can find your rhythm and just kind of keep your strikes with the mallet kind of relatively same strength as you go along, you can set the cotton in really evenly. There's one thing a lot of people, when they look at caulking, a lot of people ask, why do you loop it when you put it in?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think it doesn't really make sense, because it's going to be in there in lumps and stuff, and
Right.
the people think that by looping it, you know, won't be as watertight. But the looping is a pretty cool thing, and the purpose of looping it like that, well, one, it lets you control how much cotton you put in the seams, which is nice. Like I was saying, if your seam gets wider or something, you can loop more into it. But also putting in there loops like that, when everything swells up, you know, it's in there in these kind of hard lumps, and when the cotton gets wet, when the wood gets wet, hey, Swab, what are you doing? Swab, back over here.
I'll put him on the leash.
So when everything swells up and everything gets wet, the cotton swells, the planks swell, and the cotton gets hard in there because it's really compressed, and so it's compressed in these little lumps down there, and they bite into the planking a little bit, and they give the planking lateral resistance like that, because on a sailboat, when you have a lot of wind in the sails and it's creating a lot of stress, and the mast is creating a lot of torque on the hull, and the hull can twist and the planks can saw, and so this kind of helps stop that from happening. Just helps stiffen the hull up.
Turns it into one piece instead of a million tiny pieces.
Exactly.
While he was doing that, he set me up with a fresh bucket of tar.
So you wear gloves.
Yes. This is the best part. Oh, it's so fresh.
My task? Stuffing the bottom planks so we don't leak like crazy until the wood swells.
So I'm about to get back to tarring the bottom planking seams. Since the bottom planking won't actually get cotton, which is what Garrett's been doing on the top side, it'll just have this tar sort of in there because it's all basically new wood, and so it will swell together really tight, and it's going to be totally submerged underneath the water at all times. So really the tar is just for when we launch the boat, that it'll sort of keep us from taking on too much water. It'll be interesting to see how quickly the boat will swell, because we've launched a couple wood boats before, and this is the first time doing Doug fir. So it'll be interesting to see how different the wood works. We've had Port Orford cedar planked boat that was out of the water for a really long time, and when we probably like 4 months or something like that, because we had a truck and a bunch of other reasons, and sat in the yard for a little while doing some work. And when we launched that boat, we had to move it immediately after it was launched, and we had a single pump going, and she filled up by the end of the day. And then we had a mahogany planked boat, and that was only out of the water for a month, but it shrunk so much that the seams were, it was just like a waterfall coming in. And then what was the other one? I think it was Port Orford cedar as well. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it goes. But yeah, I kind of enjoy tarring, so I'm looking forward to it. It's been raining the last couple of days, so we haven't been able to work, but the sun is shining and it feels so nice. And I'm happy to be on the sunny side of the boat. So go ahead and get started.
Next step, sealing all the topside seams with compound to give Rediviva a fair haul.
So what seam compound have we decided to go ahead and give a go?
With Proline, window, door, and siding. So we are going to go with the regular, just oil-based seam compound, but it got really expensive, so we can't afford it. And although that's what I'd like to use, yeah, it's not going to happen. And this stuff is $5 a tube, and it's worked out really well for other things so far, so we're going to go ahead and try it on the top side seams. And it'll either work or it won't, and we'll find out. Using caulking guns.
I feel like they should have pads on them.
We quickly thought, after bruised palms, there's got to be a better tool for this. Turns out, there is. And it's electric. Nothing a Craigslist search can't solve. And for just 30 bucks.
Wow.
Again, this is about the lowest speed setting.
Wow, that's amazing though. You like did the whole length of the boat there and what was that, like
Yeah.
not even a minute?
Yeah. Pretty awesome.
Wow, it took us like 4 hours to go through 2 tubes. With the regular caulking gun.
I think if I put another little spacer in here, I'll be able to get the last little bit.
Yeah.
Up
Oh, we're
next,
getting really close.
we shake up the primer and hit the seams. Finish sealing the caulked seams and drive the last bit of cotton into the transom. Then Garrett sands it all down. After preservative and priming the whole thing again, we'll be ready for finish paint.
I like my necklace.
Mm-hmm.
It's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. Alright.
Okay.
Attention.
I'm paying attention. I'm always paying attention.
Don't worry, I'm an amateur. Oh.
Never stare down a loaded gun there, boss. Swabby. Did Dad drop some caulking on your ear?
Yeah.